they do?
It's acoustic folk.
Acoustic folk.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley.
Actually, what is your alley? Tell me what your alley is.
So, as a pastor, I'm supposed to say
The hymn.
that I listen to, godly music.
Yeah, like Switchfoot.
I don't know who Switchfoot is, but
thank goodness.
not CCM, not CCM. Oh,
Okay, yeah.
No, when I used to lift at the college gym, people would ask me like, "Do you listen to sermons when you're working out?" And I just say, sermons aren't going to really get me going angry. Like maybe a Joel Osteen sermon or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's really going to keep me going.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, no, I listen to 90s and early 2000s grunge music.
Nice.
I'm pumping Papa Roach and Linkin Park and all of that.
Hell yeah,
So,
That's less grunge, and that's more new metal, man.
yeah, so I guess I call it grunge just because
It's an out, so you don't have to say you listen to new metal.
Yeah. Well, having been a young person in the 90s, that's where sort of grunge, did its thing. So Nirvana and all of that. But then as it sort of transitions in the late 90s, early 2000s, I kind of like all of that. So
Okay, so how much Limp Bizkit's on your playlist?
a fair amount of Limp Bizkit. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, there was an article in the New York Times about this the other day. The young people, they're into new metal. It's coming back.
Nice.
Limp Bizkit, System of a Down, Slipknot, Korn, all the classics.
All of these are on my playlist. Yeah. Because when I get out of bed at like 5 a.m. to lift weights, I've got to have something that gets me going.
And the only thing you're thinking is cut my life into pieces.
That's right. It's my last resort. Suffocation. Anyway, that's right. I listen to some pretty rough, stuff, especially when I get together with my pastor friends. We don't talk music.
Yeah,
So.
I imagine. Yeah. Well, I will say the heaviest music I ever listened to was, and you're going to laugh at me for saying this, is when I was working out, when I was running, on a regular basis. Yeah, please, no judgment zone, guys.
No judgment. I used to run too. So.
There you go. Yeah. And we were basically the same person.
That's right. We both used to run.
Yes.
No, that being said, I only ever listened to that heavier music while I was working out.
Okay.
But,
Oh no, I do everything with that heavier music.
Okay, there you go.
No matter what if I'm writing, if I'm reading, it's the same. It's the same playlist.
So you're telling me you're reading theology with System of the Down in the background?
I am. And I'm picking up on their theological currents. Absolutely. Yeah. If everything's theological, I feel like I'm justified in that.
Yeah.
I just have kind of a few standard playlists. Our family, when we go on a road trip, Hamilton is one of our standard playlists that we all belt out. But other than that, I'm usually listening to some pretty heavy stuff.
So you don't strike me as a Hamilton guy.
Yeah.
So what's the story there?
Yeah. So, I am the father of teenagers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And so when my sons were in high school several years ago, they got into Hamilton. And I didn't really care for it at first. And then I started to get into it because of how bad it is historically. In order to tell them, because I teach history on the side over at Jackson College, and so I started to point out to them the parts of it that were historically inaccurate, and they would roll their eyes at me. But then I started to like the music.
That is a fate worse than death, brother.
A fate worse than death. And so it kind of became this tradition on road trips to put Hamilton on and sing it out. So
yeah,
there you go.
Have you ever been to a show, like a hardcore show of any sort?
Oh yeah. So now this is going back to
have you moshed?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. There we go.
Absolutely.
That's the question.
Yeah. No, I've moshed with studded bracelets and
nice.
all of that. So I've been in mosh pits that you get hurt in. So yeah. And a lot of that is I grew up in Southern California. And there was a big concert scene there. And then I moved to Colorado, where we used to run bands through there. Now this is more of the CCM stuff, like Five Iron Frenzy, Audio Adrenaline, like back in the 90s.
Yeah. Which is fun fact. We've talked about that before on the show with Representative Andrew Fink. We talked about the Christian hardcore scene.
Yeah. And so we did that, and then I actually ran a bunch of bands through Texas when I was down there.
Nice.
Early 2001. We had a youth ministry, and so we would bring a bunch of bands through, and then so long story short, I've been to a lot of shows, a lot of loud. I have a problem hearing at this point in my life. My wife always reminds me that I stood too close to the speakers.
Yeah.
And even to this day, she'll come by my study in the hallway and she'll just say, I can hear every word of your music. And I'm like, oh, I had it turned down. I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
As somebody who works in podcasting, I always try desperately to have everything be a little bit quieter than I want it to be. Just so we can hold on for another few years. Another few years.
It's inevitable.
Well, and for me, the worst part about it too is just I have such a loud voice. So just when I talk, the decibel levels automatically go up.
And as your hearing gets worse, it'll just get worse and worse, and your volume increases.
I'll just be shouting at people. I'll probably move from like Presbyterian to being Baptist.
Exactly.
Just shout at
exactly.
people.
Although, no, I mean, I've seen a couple of your sermons. I mean, you still shout pretty.
Yeah, I think they referred to me over at St. Anthony's as the fiery Presbyterian preacher. So,
which I feel like is a fairly rare overlap.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't hate the description.
Yeah.
When I heard it, I was like, well, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take
exactly.
it.
Yeah, that's like if you were in war and your enemy called you Old One Eye, and you'd be like, yeah, okay.
That's right.
The boys could start calling me that.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll take or leave the old portion, I guess.
Yes. All right, guys, we got Pastor Everett Henes on the podcast right now. Welcome, sir. I was wondering in my introduction, how to describe you. Do people call you Dr. Henes?
They do not. I mean, my students at the college will, but I have stupid degrees, and so technically that would be a title.
Which ones would you say are stupid out of the degrees?
Look, all of my degrees put together with like $3 can get me a half price coffee at Big B. So,
nice. There you go.
And that's only because my daughter works there. So I mean, most people call me pastor, but Everett's just fine as well. So especially for podcast purposes, I've done podcasting before, so I know that
you wouldn't want me to just refer to you as doctor the whole time.
Please no.
Oh, come on.
I already deal with imposter syndrome enough.
Yes.
It's fine.
So none of those degrees were medical, is what you're saying?
None of them were medical. None of them were necessary. No, I mean, a couple of them were necessary to do what I do, but generally speaking, I've just had this obscene amount of energy my whole life, and I just haven't stopped going to school.
So wait, when did you make the transition? Were you going through the seminary process the whole time when you're getting the degrees, or did you make a transition out? Was this a lateral move?
What do you mean by that?
As in, were you going like traditional academia in your undergraduate studies?
So I did my undergrad in philosophy, mostly because I want to be able to ask people, why do you want fries with that? And then from there, I went to a seminary to get my Master of Divinity. I knew I wanted to continue school at that point, but it wasn't the right time. So when I came to Hillsdale and got settled here, I started a second master's program in systematics, and then I did my first doctorate, as my wife refers to it as, in biblical theology. So the academy has actually never been my goal. I just want to be able to write and I like to study. I like to study. So
which is pretty uncommon, I would say, amongst many who go into upper academia. I imagine in their mind, this is the only way I can turn my study into a career. And that's part of the reason why they're doing it.
Which is probably why there's so many disappointed PhDs out there. Because what they just announced that King's College just closed. They just fired their entire faculty out in New York. And so, it's just, there's not a growing market. Go figure that eventually the pyramid scheme runs out. Who would have thunk?
Yeah, that's funny. That King's College stuff was a long time coming. I knew some King College grads, and they're like, that place is falling apart.
That was their third time closing down.
Yes.
It's not like when you say it's a long time coming, it's like they've done this before.
Yes.
But give it a new year, they'll be right on back.
That's right. That's right. I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, when you're trying to take over the world, you always have motivation.
Yes, I used to always say, or I still to this day say, if I talk to somebody who's on track for graduate school, master's, PhD, and they don't really have a plan, I always say it's an arrested development degree.
Well, what I usually tell them is, if you don't have a reason, forget a plan. Plans rarely work out in life. Like, if you don't have a reason, if this isn't something you have to do, and I do the same thing with young guys that come to me and tell me they want to go into the ministry. Like, I can tell you right now that, less than a quarter of guys who graduate from seminary will actually retire as pastors. Like the rest of them are going to burn out either before they get to it, along the way. And so what I tell them all the time is, look, if you can do anything else, literally anything else, and be happy, do it.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, that's what they say for actors when you go through.
Well, that's right. That's right. You have to have that passion. You have to have that drive, because you're going to face rejection over and over and over again. So.
Do you think that the pastor's instinct is similar actually to maybe the actor's instinct or the comedian's instinct? Because a lot of famous comedians, Sam Kinison famously, like former preachers.
Yeah, Sam Kinison, you know that he was a fiery Baptist. I remember seeing him originally back in the 80s in Back to School with my dad. And my dad told me that he'd been a pastor, and that just terrified me at the time. I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think he was more of a tent revival type.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Acquire the cash.
Yeah. He was just shouting at people. But I mean, who wouldn't turn to Jesus? Repent.
Out of fear,
right?
Nervous.
Right.
It's that this man on the stage will kill me.
Exactly. Or just
if I do not.
Or just it's that can I get him to stop if I just say yes?
Yes.
Right. If I can get him to stop. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I maybe there's sort of some connections there between acting and pastoring. I don't want to drive that too far.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully I don't act much in my pastoring. But I do think that, in both you have to be convinced that that's your call.
Exactly.
Yeah. And willing to take a bit of rejection, happy talking in front of people, that sort of thing.
That's right. Well, that's right. Yeah. I mean, they say that people are terrified of public speaking.
Yep.
That is not my terror.
Yeah.
Never has been my terror.
Same here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always astounded. That's apparently the number one fear.
Yeah. Right in the second is like snakes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm way more afraid of snakes. Like I'm telling you right now, we had a reticulated python when I was growing up, and that thing scared the beep out of me. Like it was rough. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it actually goes speaking death and then snakes. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's how it goes.
So people would rather die than speak publicly.
Yeah, which I used to I did a lot of speech training back when I was in public or back in speech and debate stuff, and it's like that. People freeze up, their throats close.
Well, in a sense, their brains just kind of turn off.
Yes.
Right, and they just don't know how the adrenaline pumps, and you're rarely making your best decisions when that adrenaline is pumping.
Yeah. So when you're actually in a seminary, right, especially like kind of a lower seminary, not like graduate school or something like that, how often do people get all the way there and they sit, like walk into a homiletics class or whatever and just break down?
I mean, so to go to the direction that I went, you had to have an undergrad, and so every seminary is graduate studies in that regard. And there were guys that got in there, and you could just tell, like, this isn't going to go well for you.
Yeah,
like there were, they say that 50% of the people that start will not finish.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just they just drop out.
Well, what's the turnover from graduation to ministry?
Yeah, so it's like it keeps going by halves, and so the number of guys who graduate with their MDiv in pastoral theology, like of them within 5 years, only 50% will be in the pulpit, and of them, like only another 50% will actually make it to retirement. And so they used to tell me all the time when I was at Westminster in Philadelphia, we had this one, academic dean or dean of students or whatever. He would take me out every semester and tell me I should drop out.
Beautiful.
And I mean, so in his defense, like I was working 60 hours a week. I had 4 kids.
Yeah.
My wife was pregnant with number 5, and I was going to school full time. And he just thought, like, you're going to just die.
Yeah.
No way you make it through seminary without damaging your family, your faith, whatever. And so I was a little obnoxious in seminary, as one might imagine. So he would take me out. He'd say, Everett, you're just too driven. So whenever I would see him on campus, I'd always say, Jerry, I walked today. I want you to know I wasn't driven. I walked. So he used to say that, you won't even make it 5 years in the ministry. So that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm ready to burn out anytime now. It's just time to go, I suppose.
The tank of nitrous will be empty eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to, right?
Yes.
Like,
that's what they say.
I mean, I teach a full load for community college. My day off, I spend, teaching 90 kids Taekwondo for 7 hours. I mean, that's my day off, right? And then I'm a full-time pastor. So eventually, and then I compete in powerlifting and my new thing this Saturday. Actually, I'm competing in Strongman.
Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna have to hear more about the Strongman thing. I'm really curious. about that.
Yeah. So like I said, eventually my energy has to burn out, but I'm pretty sure I can still take you three on right now. So that's fine.
Yeah, you're
That's
probably
fine.
right.
Well, no, that would not be a problem. Let me tell you, it wouldn't be much.
Not only that, but I think that we could take 50% of America and put them in that seat, and they could do the same. I don't think it's that big of an accomplishment.
You're like, that's not much. I used to run.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
I used to have endurance, so you better watch out.
Man. So what are you saying? What do you think that the basis of that energy is? Is it something that you'd say is natural? Is it the way you were raised? Or is there like some deep well that you go back to continuously?
It's got to be the cocaine. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Just straight Colombian. That's all it is.
I've literally always just had way too much energy.
Yeah.
It's just, my wife will tell people, and to their horror, that I operate on about 50% of the energy I had when we first got married. Like that, exactly. People are like, whoa, that's just way too much. And so it's just something that I've always had. I went to college, went to grad school, always working full time, always with a family. And in fact, I couldn't even go to college until I had some of my energy diverted in that way before I could actually calm down enough to pay attention in class.
to focus on the lesson.
So would you say that your high school experience was off and on diagnoses of ADHD?
Oh, my whole life is off and on diagnosed with ADHD. Are you kidding me? I mean, please. So high school, I just diverted myself with a lot of other activities. While I was, I didn't even study in high school. I didn't care. And passed just fine. So
true. That's that gifted child syndrome where you do pretty well in high school and you don't truly try that much.
Yeah.
But many people, they hit the barrier of college and it's like, oh, actually, no, thank you. This takes work.
Well, and for me, like I couldn't even go to college until I saw a reason to go.
Yeah.
As far as I was concerned, college was just a bunch of hippies and liberals.
Yeah.
Mostly because I was raised by, a blue collar Republican. And so it was a bunch of hippies and liberals, and I didn't want to go to that. And I didn't feel like I needed to. Before I graduated college, I was managing a restaurant. So it didn't even matter. And so, once I figured out why I needed to go to college, I did it in 3 years. And then I went to grad school and knocked that out. And
now you're here.
Yeah. Now I'm here and been here for 15 years.
Yes. Just so that you could end up on this couch today.
That's right.
Well, we're doing a move real quick.
Right.
Doing a mic move.
While you're standing up, frickin' pour some brown, dude. I'm out without a glass in my hand. Thank you.
All right.
See, this is what
I guess it has to be in a different position.
Yeah. Well, this is what we pay him the big bucks for.
Got it. To watch the mic.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he would have done something.
Well, hopefully the voice will overtake it. But to polish the mic or move the mic and then pour the. What is that? Brown water?
Exactly. This is water from Flint, Michigan. We had it imported. We flew it over just for you today.
Oh, that's great.
That's kind of low-hanging fruit there.
I know.
That is low-hanging fruit.
We had a group of comedic actors come to Hillsdale College to perform a show. It was my freshman year of college, and they made a Flint joke, and the entire audience gasped. And this was like 3 years after the tragedy, right? Yeah. And they also did a joke about how the three historical women in all of American history are Harriet Tubman, Hillary Clinton, and the nuclear scientist in Planet of the Apes. And they were like, and those are the three. And nobody, like, some people laughed and they were like, every other audience we ever do this to would have gasped.
Nice.
You guys are gasping at the Flint, Michigan. Hey, we care about our water here. Our brown water.
That's true.
Are you sure? I mean, this was at Hillsdale College, right?
Yeah,
correct.
Are you sure they knew where Flint, Michigan was? I don't know that those students are paying much attention to the local,
the
local
Michigan
color.
stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Real quick, guys, while we're in this transitionary period, this show is ostensibly about something, right? We talk about somebody's monomaniacal obsession, the thing they're into right now, right? We bring them on. And I mean, we were alluding to it earlier, but this Saturday you've got a strongman competition coming up.
So is this your first strongman competition, first off?
Yeah, that's right. So my background was in endurance athletics, much like Dylan. I was a triathlete through my 30s. I used to say.
So you ran like what, 1.5 miles tops one time?
No, I did a half Ironman. It was like a 1.5 mile swim, 56-mile bike ride, and then a half marathon.
Nice.
One right after the other. So I did that up in Lake Huron. That was a lot of fun. And then I just kind of burned out on it. And decided I want to try something different. So I moved.
He does bleed.
I do. Yeah. Well, I mean, so here's the deal.
Yeah.
The fees for those races are like $700 per race.
Yeah.
The bikes those guys are riding are like $10,000 bikes, and I was riding a $200 Walmart special.
Yeah.
And I was constantly dieting. I was always trying to be smaller.
Yeah.
And so I got tired of that kind of package. I got tired of and decided I wanted to try something else. My body had always been kind of larger more naturally. And so I wanted to start lifting, and I found powerlifting. So that's just 3 lifts: squat, bench, deadlift. And I said at the beginning that I wanted to do powerlifting to get strong enough to do strongman.
Yeah.
So strongman is kind of a strength sport that, moves odd objects. And I'll talk a little bit about the events that I'm doing this Saturday, and how I've even tried to prepare for them, because many of them you can't prepare for until you get there.
Yeah, because you just don't have the equipment.
That's right. That's right. And so, I did the squat, bench, deadlift. And like I said, I was going to do that until I was strong enough to do strongman. And somewhere along the way, I just got absorbed in powerlifting. I was setting records, I was winning competitions, and so I just fell in love with powerlifting. And for various reasons in this region, powerlifting is not as accessible anymore. So I've got another competition planned in November, and we'll see how that goes. But I saw that there was a strongman event up in Kalamazoo. That sport has been growing quite a bit. And so I looked up where that was. So it's up in Kalamazoo, not too far from here. And I kind of looked at the events, looked at the weights, and thought, well, I might be able to do something with that, you know? Yeah. So to explain the events, especially if your listeners, viewers, don't follow Strongman. Every Christmas when the world's strongest man comes out. So the first event is called a yoke carry. And so it's essentially, if you've ever done a squat in the gym, it's just a thicker kind of bar, but it's a whole contraption that weighs somewhere from 500 to 800 pounds that you have to pick up and run with as fast as you can. You get to use your shoulders.
So that's judged off of speed.
That's right. Judged off the speed. And a lot of stuff is judged off speed, unless it's like a max lift, and then it's just going to go based on that. None of the events I'm doing on Saturday are max lifts, unfortunately. And then there's so that's the first event, and then there's this wagon wheel axle bar. So it's like a 2-inch bar, which is ridiculously large compared to a regular gym bar, and you have to sort of clean it up onto your chest and then up over your head for as many reps as possible in 60 seconds. So I've got that, and then third is what's called a deadlift ladder. So essentially, it's just every deadlift gets heavier and heavier and heavier.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so you got to go through 5 of them as fast as possible. The fourth event does have me a little nervous. It's a keg toss.
Yes.
And so it's like 20 to 35 pound kegs that you're throwing like 12 to 15 feet over, behind you.
Yeah, that sounds like a technique thing. Do you have the keg to practice on?
I don't have no keg to practice on. I'm all tapped out. No, I have no keg to practice on. I don't have a bar. In my neighborhood, I'd probably hit something. So that wouldn't work anyway. And so I'm gonna try. I have to weigh in on Friday, and so I'm gonna try to see if I can use some of the implements Friday night just to get a feel for them before the competition on Saturday. And then the last event is a death medley, is what they call it. Aptly named.
Yes,
right?
yes.
You're going to die. And so you have to run. It's a lot of running. And that's the difference between strongman and powerlifting. Is powerlifting, you go out, you get 3 attempts at, each lift. The meet lasts 7 or 8 hours. So you're literally lifting 9 times for max attempt. And then you're done, and that's it. Whereas in strongman, everything's 60 to 90 seconds, and it's literally balls to the wall. You're just going as fast and as hard as you can. In order to win. In this case, the last event's 4 different implements. You get 60 seconds for each one, so it can last up to 4 minutes. You're essentially carrying hundreds of pounds, from one side to the other in
Yeah.
various forms. So you start with like a 200-pound keg, and then you go on to a 200-pound sandbag, which is obnoxious.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Oh, it's just the worst. And then you have like a 200-pound. Yeah, well, you can shoulder it. You can carry it in front of you, like however you can get it from point A to point B. Like that's it. It's they have some events where you got to put it up on your shoulder and put it down. This isn't one of those. You just have to go as fast as you can. And then you have and then it's an Atlas stone. So it's just a giant 200-pound cement ball that you have to pick up. And then the last one's called a duck walk. It's an apparatus that has a bar and like 250, 300 pounds between your legs.
Yeah.
And you waddle basically across the room. So those are the last 4 things. And the worst part is, so I've entered into the lightweight novice, and I know that I don't look like a lightweight, but in Strongman, I'm a lightweight.
comparatively. Yes.
Comparatively, those guys, like the bigger guys are going to be 3 something, 330. So I'm sitting at 220. So I'm a lightweight novice since this is my first competition. I entered the novice category. But I'm going to be going up against like 20, 25-year-olds, which is just going to be stupid.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be so fast. Like I might be able to outlift them.
Yeah.
And that's where I would rather it be like a max attempt.
Yeah.
Because I mean, most of those guys, especially in the lightweight class, none of them have deadlifted 600 pounds.
Yeah.
I've deadlifted 600 pounds. So like I can do that. But doing 5 deadlifts as fast as possible, I usually wait 10 minutes between each rep. I mean, I'm usually more relaxed and, I might pull something for, 3 or 4 reps and put it down and then sit for 10 minutes and get up and take the next set.
So you were mentioning that a powerlifting competition is over the course of 8 hours. How long would this competition be?
I think they've capped it at like 60 competitors. My sense is it's going to be roughly 5 to 6 hours. So it's going to be a long day. But it's going to be basically like you go as hard as you can for 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you sit for an hour.
Yeah.
Which
Because they have to do every weight category, every.
That's right. That's right. Men, women. I mean, if they went from event to event to event immediately, they just call it CrossFit.
Yeah.
And who wants to call it CrossFit?
No.
That's a terrible idea.
I was talking to my wife about this earlier because I was telling her that I was interviewing you, and I said, well, and based on my assumptions, powerlifting is like a strength competition, right? And this is more like the strength games. And I'm not saying that to make it, derivative or not derivative, to put it down in any way, but to say it's sort of like Olympic in that we're having a competition, we're doing various things. It's very game-esque.
So I think the best way to think about it is that powerlifting is just straight strength.
Yeah.
This is more of a strength athletic thing.
Yeah.
Like it requires a certain level of athleticism, which is really bad for me because I'm not athletic. Like I'm just not. I'm much more comfortable with that static strength. And so the idea of, 5 kegs that have to be thrown over a 12-foot wall, one right after another, getting heavier and heavier. That sounds so exhausting.
So Pastor, all I'm hearing is negativity over here. Why are you so excited to go compete? Or are you not? Are you not
actually, I am excited. So part of my excitement is that my youngest daughter and I, we have this tradition every night we watch an episode, usually one of the heats or one of the finals of The World's Strongest Man. They've been doing it since 1977, all the way to 2023. And so we're able to just kind of watch them over and over again. And it's so much fun. And she kept telling me, you should do Strongman. You should do Strongman. Yep. And so she's going to be going with me to watch me make a fool of myself. And it'll be great. It'll be great. So that's a big reason why I'm doing it. But also, so I have some friends who've made the transition from powerlifting to Strongman, and they've all told me that it's just, it's so much better. Yeah. And so I'm waiting to see.
Are you saying better from a competition like being run standpoint, from just the culture? Like...
I think it's just more fun.
Okay.
There is a sense in which powerlifting is boring.
Yeah.
You have 3 attempts at a squat. Let's say you go out and you take your first squat at 500 pounds. You put in your next squat for 530. You wait 20 minutes. You take that. You wait 20 minutes, you do the next one. And then it's an hour and a half later, you start your benches.
Yeah.
And then it's, and so it's just kind of, it's coming. There's no variation whatsoever.
Not very dynamic.
That's right. Not dynamic at all. Whereas Strongman, like I'll do one competition this summer and this is what it's going to be. I could do a competition in the fall or in the winter that would have 5 completely different events.
That's what I was going to say. Because you're talking about World's Strongest Man. I'm thinking about, the high profile World's Strongest Man competitions or like events I remember from watching it on TV. It's like, oh yeah, the tire thing or Conan's wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
All
that's
the-
right.
Yeah.
So there's all the different kinds of events
Yeah.
that they have to draw from. And sometimes they just make stuff up. Like they're just like, oh, let's try to move that over to there.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to crawl or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, they have one where they have an amphitheater where you're basically taking a 500-pound weight and you have to climb 20 stairs with it. And I mean, it's just like, well, that just sounds terrible.
Yeah. Well, so how do you? I imagine with so many different events, how do you make sure they're ergonomic and how do you prevent injury?
Yeah, I mean, I think that injury is part of the sport.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you just
Okay,
have
that's
to kind of
fun.
go into it with that mindset. I'm not a spring chicken, so hopefully, I mean, right now I don't feel anything that's, starting to break down or anything like that.
Yeah.
All of my workouts have been spot on, but it's a whole different sport. It's a whole different game. So a buddy of mine who was a very strong power lifter, his first strongman competition, his bicep tendon came off.
Jeez.
Yeah. So he went down to pick up the Atlas stone and it just went,
Yeah.
it's just gone. And so he had to go in and have it surgically reattached.
Yeah. Stretched over.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I mean, so yeah, I mean, injuries are part of every sport. I'm hoping that doesn't happen to me.
Well, no, yeah.
But of course, you're the exception.
Yeah.
No. I've torn so many muscles in my body.
Yeah.
I've torn so many. I am under no pretense that I'm not a great athlete.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've done a lot of, and that's so you have the physical training.
Yeah.
And then you have the mental preparation, right? Because when you go to lift something, you can either lift it really foolishly or you can lift it well, right? And so let's say an Atlas stone, for instance, like if you bend over and you try to pull it up to you, that's where you're going to pop a bicep.
Yeah.
Right, because you're overextending that muscle, what it's able to do, and really that tendon. Whereas if you just reach down, grab it, and then use your back to hoist it up, that's going to be a lot better technique for that.
Yeah.
And so part of it is just mentally preparing yourself for the right technique.
Yeah, and not in the moment, sort of breaking down and just doing what on instinct. And that's probably a lot tougher in a speed-based sport.
That's
too,
right.
because you're going to be like, all right, I got to get this done. I don't have too much time to really think about how I'm going to lift this.
Well,
thing.
and that's why I entered the novice category. The weights are slightly lighter.
Yeah.
I'm not there to win. I'm there to see if I like the sport,
Yeah.
And if it's going to be a fun thing for me to transition into, or at least kind of do alongside with my powerlifting. I mean, I enjoy powerlifting, I really do. I like the static strength stuff. It's a lot of fun for me, but I also like meet days are just boring.
Yeah.
And nobody in my family wants to go.
Yeah.
Nobody
I was about
wants
to
see
say
me.
that sounds like a terrible thing to bring your kid to.
Right? Yeah. My daughter's like, I'm not going to a powerlifting meet. No, that
Yeah.
sounds stupid. And so the Strongman event is much more exciting, dynamic. Things are happening. It's different each time. And so I think that's a big draw for me. And plus events usually cost less.
Yeah.
But I will say that, for both powerlifting and strongman, the community around them are just both great.
That's good.
I have a quick powerlifting question.
Yeah.
Sorry to wrap things back around, but so how is there variance in meet to meet? Like, how does that work? Because in my mind, the way that you're describing it, it sounds like something that you're training for, and you have an X amount of weight that you're shooting for, and you go. It's a sterile environment. You have the weights. You're on the mat. You do the lift. Boom. Is that it? Is that the capacity of it?
That's it. I mean, and there's judges to make sure you do it properly, to depth and all of that. I mean, sometimes you can pass out during lifts. I've done that, in competition.
Yeah.
I was deadlifting and it just, there's a video of me on Instagram where I'm pulling and pulling and pulling, and then I just fall over, with like 550 pounds in my hands, which is dumb because 550 pounds isn't heavy for me. And so I wasn't opening with my max attempt. I was opening with what I had tripled 3 days before. The difference was this particular event was not well run. And so, whereas I would normally deadlift at about hour 6 or 7, this was hour 11.
Oh, jeez.
And I'd run out of food at hour 5.
Yeah.
And so I'd gone the whole afternoon with nothing in my stomach.
Yeah.
And so that was that was my fault.
You
So
don't
that's,
wanna- yeah.
is that where the variance is then in it? Because like in my mind, if you're doing something like Olympic lifting or something, you know who the best in the world are. They're hitting this at the meets. Like, shouldn't you be able to predict exactly where they're going to lift?
I mean, yes, except for what's going to be there on meet day.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Everything's different. Like, it's like when people tell me, well, I do powerlifting because I do those 3 lifts in the gym.
Yeah.
I say, that's fine. You train powerlifting, but you're not a powerlifter. And some people say, well, you're just being pedantic. And you're being, elitist or something like that. And okay, maybe there's a little bit of truth to that.
Yeah.
But there is something about putting it together on meet day.
Yeah.
That it's not about, because a lot of guys will say, well, my best lifts in the gym are, let's say, I've got a 300-pound bench, a 400-pound squat, and a 500-pound deadlift. My first question is, have you put those all together in one workout?
Yeah.
Usually the answer is no. No, those are just my max days. Okay. Well, see, that's where it's different.
Yeah.
And then comes the judging. Right, I'm not saying I judge them. I mean, I've already judged them, but the judges on the platform, there are 3 judges that have to agree. 2 out of 3 have to agree that you did it right, that your depth was good, the pause on the bench was proper, like everything. And when you get to max weights, that's where your form starts to break down.
Yeah.
And so you'll see guys in the gym, who are benching and they'll be bouncing it off their chest. That's not going to count.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to push it up, and so their butt's coming up off the bench. That's not going to count. Like there are certain rules that are in place, so you have to do it properly. Personally, I train the way I compete, and so every day in my gym, I'm in my silly little singlet, or as my wife calls it, my onesie.
Yeah. Do you use a belt?
I do, yeah. I use a belt, I use wrist straps, I use knee sleeves. Basically, the way I compete is the way I train.
Yeah.
Which is what's going to make Strongman so hard.
Yeah.
Because I've been training powerlifting this whole time, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to try that.
I was going to ask you about this. What has been the change in your training regiment? Like, are you just sort of training general strength?
Yeah,
or?
so that's it right now is general strength, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. And I was at a point in my training where, I wasn't peaking for a meet. So as you train, you kind of build and peak and over exhaust your body. So I wasn't there yet. So I was able to just kind of use my regular training to kind of roll into it. But I mean, I've done a few different things. Like, I've tried to throw a few 20-pound weights, as high as I can. I have loaded up like 600 pounds on the bar and stepped out with it to feel that on my back, for the yoke walk. I mean, I've tried a few things. But at the end of the day, I don't have access to those implements.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a challenge. Now, I do have a friend. So a buddy of mine is a pastor down in New Zealand. He was a professional strongman for a bunch of years. If you're familiar with the name Eddie Hall, who won World's Strongest Man back in 2017, when in 2012, when Eddie Hall makes his first appearance at WSM, he replaces my friend who got a back injury that year.
Oh, wow.
And so that's kind of how far he had gotten.
Yeah.
So
That's how close you are to fame.
that's right. That's how close I am. 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
And so, he told me, he said, don't train the implements. He's like, that's stupid. And of course, he's naturally gifted at every sport he ever touches. He picked up a set of clubs from a thrift store and went to play golf and shot a 72. Just that he just is stupid at
which is wild because I'm sure that the overlap between World's Strongest Man and golf is very minimal.
But the difference between throwing and being able to aim things, I assume. Just general athleticism. I think there is some carryover there.
Yeah.
It's also funny to think of a 350-pound guy, walking across the green and just whacking this little ball to take out his frustrations as a pastor. So that's so he's just said, just show up and do it. Take the novice spot, and go with the lighter weights. I'm a lightweight already. So he said, you'll be fine. The weight won't be the problem. The implements will be the issue. And you can kind of learn them along the way.
Okay.
So
do you only get one attempt per competition? Per trial?
No. On the yoke walk, if you drop it, you can pick it back up and go. You drop it, pick it back. You have 60 seconds. The one I'm most concerned about is the keg toss. For that one, you get 3 attempts on each keg, with the difference being that if you let's say you got the first one, you you get it in 3 attempts. Your third attempt, you get it, then the next one you get it, right away. And the next one you miss it and you can't get your third attempt, then you're done.
Oh,
but if you miss 3 times on the first one, you're also done. You own each one, you get 3 attempts. So technically you could go, 2 for each one. Although I don't know that you'd finish in the 60-second time limit that way.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to know that you are very close to doing a caber toss in your life. Like that is on the horizon.
Highland Games is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And so
It'd be very Presbyterian.
That's right. Yeah, I could wear a kilt and everything.
Yeah.
My friend down in New Zealand, he shows up to the whatever the region is for the Highland Games down in Australia, New Zealand, and all that. He never trains. He wins every time.
Yeah.
Because he's so good at throwing.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of Highland Games is.
I mean, a group of games that were designed around being able to do them while drunk or preferably while you're drunk.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, and that was actually one of the funny things about that meet that I passed out at. It was the first meet that I'd been to where during deadlifts, guys were taking swigs of whiskey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Poorly run.
Before they did.
Sure.
Because it does something with the bloodstream and all of that. And so part of me goes, I wonder if that's what I should have done. Maybe that would have kept me from passing out.
Yeah, on an empty stomach, lifting all day. You would have passed out and then thrown up. That's what
could go wrong?
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Beautiful. Yeah, you might as well be smoking a cigar while you do it. So.
Yeah.
I have actually done the, deadlift with the cigar in my mouth just for the photo.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for the aesthetic.
Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's one of my other, hobbies is smoking cigars.
Yes,
so.
yes. Dylan was telling me about that a little bit earlier. You smoke pretty regularly, right?
Yeah. I mean, during the summertime, because I don't have as much to do.
Yeah.
I usually smoke every day. And then during the school year when I'm, teaching and all of that, I'll smoke just 3 times a week.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how do you, I don't know. I guess the question is, how do you do that? Like how much time do you spend?
Well, first you have to bring it into your mouth.
I know.
And then you have to blow it out. No, sorry.
Practical mechanics.
How do you set aside the hour and a half, 2 hours to really appreciate the cigar? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, part of it is that you can read while you smoke.
Mm-hmm.
You can grade while you smoke. I can write sermons while I smoke. And so if I'm in the middle of
and usually I can tell, by the way, which ones.
Oh, no. Are they better?
I'm going to let you guess.
Well, now you got me. Now you got me nervous.
Yeah.
Head games you're gonna play with me. I tell you. So I mean, I can work while I smoke, and so
always outside. Do you have an implement inside? Where
I wish I could smoke inside. No. I got a friend who he's got a nice porch, and then during the winter he heats his garage.
Yes,
literally just to smoke.
Yes, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, he and I started smoking. So we started together. Like, I started smoking when I was 18, smoking cigars when I was 18. He and I would smoke together like twice a year, and he was just bad at it.
Yeah.
Like, he was terrible. He couldn't keep it lit. It was crooked. Yeah. And he just said, I want to get good at this. So he ordered a bunch of cigars, and he started smoking every day.
Yeah.
And that led to me smoking every day with him. And that was like 7 years ago. So we just kind of kept going. I mean, hopefully, we die soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got
that
noticed.
way it'll just end, please.
I just got noticed that one of my life insurance policies is about to run out. So I told my wife, I was like, well, you got 1 more month to get rid of me.
Yeah. So from what I've heard, actually, I know a guy who's trying to get a re-up on his life insurance policy. If it's a especially good life insurance policy, they will test your follicles. They will make you send in your beard hair.
Your beard hair.
Yeah, to make sure.
I can't. I can't risk it.
Exactly. That's what I say. It's either that or shave it, I guess.
I don't know that I could get rid of any of them. I love them all.
I will say, somebody who I know very well and is very close to me had to fill out a questionnaire for life insurance. And may or may not have said that they had never smoked at all in their life and have done an average of 1 drink a month. I don't know who that could be.
Is that a sin, Pastor?
Wow.
Great question.
If lying on your taxes is a sin, I guess.
First of all, all our sins are forgiven. No, no. Sorry. No. First of all, we want to make clear, Dylan, that's not me. I didn't say that. So
True.
That's fine. That's fine. But yeah, that's a hard sell for me. I don't know that I could say that. Thankfully, my life insurance policy has never asked me. Since,
well, now you're gonna have to get a new one. And then,
no, because I have two.
Okay.
And so the other one continues on, and once that's done, probably won't get another one because. I don't want to keep giving my wife incentive.
Yeah.
True.
True.
That
You do smoke every day. Having
That's
a
right.
pattern like that, easily murderable.
Exactly.
Easily kill somebody that way.
Honestly, nobody's going to quite.
Yeah.
Even if she was caught with the knife in the hand, most people would be like, oh, no, we get that.
Yeah. We understand.
Yeah, we understand. He was annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We literally could not find a jury for this case.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody will convict her. Yeah, that's right.
I was talking to an LCMS pastor the other day, and he was saying that one of the things that kind of keeps guys in the LCMS is that it's got a really strong retirement plan. Does the OPC have anything similar? Does it have anything centralized at all, or is it all just
for the OPC? Our retirement is heavenly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Your status as a member of the elect is enough. Okay?
That's it. I mean, when you're part of the special services, the SEAL team of ministry, that's really all you need.
Yes. Yes.
No, the OPC does not. I mean, there is a retirement account that, the church pays into, but
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, that's not going to do much. And I do plan to just work until I drop dead.
Yes.
Which could be any time now.
It's true. Yeah, ticking time bomb.
Yeah. I have no idea of my genetics, and so it could happen tomorrow. It could happen in 30 years, but I'm pretty sure, given the way I've lived, it will not be like my wife will live into her 90s.
Yeah.
Tons of women in her family all live into their 90s.
Yeah.
That's not going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to be me. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I told her, we actually had this conversation the other day. And I said, well, if I die, I want you to be remarried. But you have to have me cremated so that you can throw me in his face. I just feel like
At the wedding, like the rice,
Yeah. She told me, she said, well, if I die, you can get remarried. She said, but you can never tell her or think that her chocolate chip cookies are better than mine.
Which out of the two, I would take that option.
Right? I mean,
That seems like the easier option.
I don't know. Just throw me in somebody's face.
You should add an extra stipulation where it has to be during the kiss the bride portion of the wedding.
No, I just expect my children just to glare at him.
Yes. So cremation, you're going to get cremated.
No, I'm not going to be
Okay.
cremated. Sorry.
I wanted to double check on that because that didn't seem like something you would say.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be cremated.
Yeah.
No, the only ashes I have are going to be for my cigar.
Yes.
Not on one Wednesday a year or when I die. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
Buried with a barbell across your chest, like you had had a failed.
Probably,
like how you died.
Probably dying with a barbell across my chest.
Yeah.
As I tell my wife, if I die during a deadlift, just add more weight and call 911.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't make it because seriously. I mean, I've had friends who've had serious injuries in lifting, and a lot of times it's not during their max attempts.
Yeah.
Because
they're being sloppy.
Like their bench. Well, no, I had this one friend. Like he can bench over 400 pounds. He was just warming up 225. He just blacked out.
Jeez. Yeah.
He literally just blacked out. Fell right on his face.
Wow.
Jeez.
He had to have like reconstructive surgery and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it's like people were saying, well, why didn't you use a spotter? Who uses a spotter for 40% of their, max attempt? Like, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
And
it's not
just
like I imagine he wasn't lifting at the gym.
Well, I mean, I think he was at the gym, but even still, like you don't call somebody over when you're getting ready to add, 3 more plates to the bar to be like, oh, well, can you watch me on this one? Like that just doesn't happen.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Honestly, that might be even bad etiquette in the gym.
Right?
If it was
Right?
light enough.
Well-
like if I came down and had 2 10-pound plates on the side and I asked a guy who was doing actual work to come over and watch me lift.
Right? Can you spot me? Can I get you to spot me?
Hey, can you spot me?
No, the only way you're going to get a guy to stop his workout to spot somebody with 10-pound weights on it is if you're a hot girl.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's it.
And I got to say, unfortunately, I
honestly-
don't check that box.
And
so-
honestly, Dylan, I don't know, maybe.
Pastor, you do this to me. Why?
Well, now
in front of God and everybody.
Now you've been initiated into the secrets of Monomaniacs.
Which is just make fun of Dylan.
Make
Is that
fun
what
of
it
Dylan.
is?
Exactly.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, very easy to do. How are we doing on time, by the way? Just so that I know. Oh,
Okay,
perfect.
great.
So,
Let's move on to the question then.
yeah.
All
So we want to thank our patrons out there for supporting the show. Our top patrons: Joe Papalardo, Luke Robson, Sammy Roberts, and Zach and Amber Strehle, of course. Thank you so much for your guys' support. That means the world. And thank you, of course, to all our other patrons. If you're interested, Monomaniacs Pod at patreon.com. And at $5, you guys can listen to the special exclusive post show that we do after every recording. There's over 60 hours of content there for only $5. That's crazy. Also, for $10 a month, you can ask questions on the podcast of our guests, and we will answer them. Right? This is not an ambush. I want to preface
It
this.
sounds a little bit like an ambush.
Okay, so this is actually on a softball, if
Okay.
you can believe it. This is the 250-pound barbell.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Sammy Roberts asks, how long did it take to grow that beard, and what is the maintenance routine? What do you do to that beard?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess its length right now is roughly about 18 months. It's not that I've had it only 18 months; it's that it takes me about 18 months to get to this point.
Yeah.
As far as the maintenance of it, I do like brush it out in the morning with a blow dryer after I get out of the shower, and then I use beard butter.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So couple times a week, I'll wash it and condition it and all of that. But I don't do a lot to it because that would defeat the purpose of having a beard.
Yes.
Which is low maintenance. Not
Low
needing to
maintenance,
shave.
and there's just something toxically masculine about it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I can do that if I'm waxing my mustache and curling it and all of that.
Yeah, that
There
was
you
like
go.
a kind of a thing in like the mid 2010s, or the late
Yeah.
2000s, right? Where people were really into the wax and the
Yeah, you see them like with curls in their mustache and all of that. And I just, like I said, for me, when I first started growing a beard, it was because I wanted to take away the maintenance of shaving like once a week. I didn't even shave that often. When I realized I could grow a decent beard, I was like, oh, now I just owe it to the world.
Yeah.
Makes a world of difference
Yeah,
right there.
it really does. It really does. I owe it to guys who can't grow beards at all. That's right,
Yeah,
Josh.
exactly.
That's
Josh
right.
Leibhauser, the
All
bad
that
guy.
hair that could be there is right here. Yeah. I actually honestly feel very bad for the beardless fellows right now because beards are in. The beards and the mustaches,
Yeah.
people are
They're
rocking
in
right now.
They're in. Although I read an article the other day that said
First mistake.
claimed that the shaved head is in. And I don't think it's true. I don't know.
I think it's probably true. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I think that, you can rock it a lot better than you used to be able to.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Yeah.
I did try to talk my wife into let me shave my head because my hair is starting to thin as I
Yeah.
get close to 50.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
You made it that long.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely beat you beat Dylan and I by a decade and a half.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
But she just won't budge. I
Yeah.
mean, I kept telling her like, well, I'm just gonna shave it, and she's like, no, you won't. I was like, no, I'm gonna get the razor. She's like, you don't even know where that is. I was like, darn it, she knows.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's like my kryptonite. Like, I don't know where anything is in the house.
She's got it taped between your shoulder blades.
I can't reach there. So you're
what?
absolutely right.
What?
You're
Oh, I
absolutely
could never
right.
have guessed.
You could never have guessed. Yes, all my Taekwondo students, they're always telling me, "Can you touch your shoulders?" And I can't touch my shoulders. So that's
but,
okay.
but then you turn to that kid, you say, how much you lift?
exactly. Then I just throw them.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I do get to kick them already, so it's fine.
Yeah. Well, so what's the honorific in Taekwondo? Are you sensei? What are you?
I'm master.
Master?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm a 4th degree black belt.
Nice.
And so they call me master. I've only given like one kid a concussion.
Honestly, percentage
and they were
wise,
asking
pretty
for
good.
it? Were they
Yeah.
asking for it?
Aren't all
Yeah.
kids?
Well, what did the kids say? What did the kids say?
Exactly. Did you deserve it?
Yeah.
No, we were doing a show where I was like, going to show you how to kick hard.
Yeah.
And basically there was multiple kids standing there, and the shock threw one of their heads back into the other kid's head.
Oh,
And so
jeez.
they racked
How I
heads.
imagined that story was going to end was you were going to say, "Oh, we wanted to do demonstrations, so I said, Jimmy, you got the biggest head. Get up here. Let me show you how hard I can kick."
He did have the biggest head.
That's exactly what he was
tragic,
asking
you
for.
You know,
Yeah,
I told his mom, and I was like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. And she was like, he's in Taekwondo. He probably deserves it. So it's fine.
Not
It's
even
fine.
his mother would support him.
Not even his
Yes.
mother. No, in fact, I remember that one of these kids, and then both of them are black belts now, but one of these kids like left and he said something to his mom about getting hurt. And she's like, I don't want to hear it. You signed up for Taekwondo.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
There you go.
I was like, okay, that's good.
Yeah. I just had a really bad joke. Never mind.
Uh-oh.
That's a Patreon
That's
joke.
a-
right
yeah,
there.
save
That's a
that for the Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon joke.
Man,
goodness.
so wait, real quick, actually, if in the last few minutes here, what differentiates Taekwondo from, say, jiu-jitsu? And right now everybody's into jiu-jitsu. That you can't throw a rock without hitting a guy who's into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could tell more politically incorrect answers to that. So I'm going to save that for the Patreon.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a grappling sport.
Yeah.
So it's akin to wrestling and that kind of thing. Whereas Taekwondo is a striking sport. You're
Yeah.
up on you're up on your feet. So that's the biggest difference. I mean, Taekwondo also is an Olympic sport. And so you can watch it in the Olympics, and it's mostly, especially in the Olympic level, it's like 90% feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's kicks, it's jump kicks, it's
Yeah.
spinning kicks, all of that.
So I assume the thing that you're neglecting to say is that you kind of have to be in better shape to do Taekwondo.
I mean, there is a sense in which, it's the difference between maybe, crawling around on the ground and jump roping.
Yeah.
Like one of those you can do for a while. The other one, I always assign my kids to jump rope for 2 minutes to get them ready for actually conditioned for sparring.
Yeah.
That they have to be able to go. That being said, I mean, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very respectable. I've trained it before. It's a lot of fun, and I do enjoy wrestling. I got my second son, his brother-in-law. Is a wrestler in high school, and
Nice.
he wanted to wrestle, and I was like, I'll give it a try. So I choked him out.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, because
Sounds
of
like-
course he was asking for it.
Well, he was.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
Yeah.
No, it literally was.
So he first wrestled my son, and he
Yeah.
actually choked him out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And so I threw him at one point because he tried to do something. I was like, oh, that's dumb. And I just picked him up and, kind of went behind me. And then we kind of scrapped on the ground for a while until I got my forearm right into his throat.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him, I was like, dude, just tap. He's like, no, I got this. I was like, you're just. So finally, it's like his face turns purple, and I was like, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
Starts to lose consciousness. It's like, no.
Goodness.
That's where the inexperience comes in, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, and he's a good wrestler, but he's also like 140 pounds. Like I'm 220
I wouldn't
pounds.
even call a spotter to lift you, boy.
Exactly. With one arm.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I mean,
goodness.
good grief.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the pod,
Yeah,
sir.
it's been great.
If y'all are
Absolutely.
interested, we're going to hop into the Patreon. And in addition, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. We would really appreciate it.
Peace out.